everyone, my name's Stonsey Boy, and welcome back to Reading with Stonsey. Today we're reading chapters 36 to 37, page 338 to 405 of Scythe. So, without further ado, and with one mic adjustment, let's begin. Chapter 36, The 13th Kill. Goddard was in the chapel sanctuary, finishing the last of his terrible business. Outside, the wails began to fade as Rand and Chomsky finished what they had begun. A building was burning across the courtyard. Smoking cold air poured in through the broken stained glass windows of the chapel. Goddard stood at the front by an altar featured a shining two-pronged fork and a stirred bowl of dirty water. There was only one Tonus left alive in the chapel. He was a balding man wearing a frock that was slightly different from the dead around him. Goddard held him with one hand and wielded his sword in the other. Then Goddard turned to see Rowan and smiled. "Ah, Rowan, just in time," he said cheerily. "I have saved the curate for you." The Tonus curate showed a defiance rather than fear. "What you've done here today will only help our cause," he said. "Martyrs testify far more effectively than the living." "Martyrs to what?" Goddard sneered and tapped his blade against the huge toning fork. "To this thing? I'd laugh if I wasn't so disgusted." Rowan strode closer, ignoring the carnage around him, focusing in on Goddard. "Let him go," said Rowan. "Why? Do you prefer a moving target? I prefer no target." Finally, Goddard understood. He grinned as if Rowan had said something charming and quaint. Does our young man express a wee bit of disapproval?" "Volta's dead," Rowan told him. Goddard's gleeful expression faded, but only a bit. "He was attacked by a Tonus? They'll pay dearly for it. It wasn't them." Rowan didn't even try to hide an animosity in his voice. "He gleaned himself." This gave Goddard pause. The curate struggled in his grip, and Goddard slammed him against the stone basin hard enough to knock him out, but then let the man fall to the ground. "Voltus was the weakest of us," Goddard said. "I'm not entirely surprised. Once you're ordained, I'll happily have you take his place." "I won't do that." Goddard took a moment to gauge Rowan, to read him. It felt like a violation. Goddard was in his head, even deeper in his soul. And Rowan didn't even know how to cast about. "I know you and Alessandro were close, but he was nothing like you, Rowan, believe me. He had never had the hunger, but you do. I've seen it in your eyes. I've seen how you are when you train, living in the moment, every kill. Perfect." Rowan found that he couldn't look away from Goddard, who had put down his sword and now held his hands out as if he were inviting embrace of a savior. The diamonds in his robe twinkled in the faraway firelight, so bedazzling. "Ye could have been called reapers," Goddard said, "but our founders saw fit to call us scythes, because we are the weapons in mankind's immortal hand. You are a fine weapon, Rowan, sharp and precise, and when you strike you are so glorious to behold." "Stop it! That's not true!" "You know it is. You were born for this, Rowan. Don't throw it away." The Curan began to groan, beginning to regain consciousness. Goddard hauled him to his feet. "Glean him, Rowan. Don't fight it. Glean him now and enjoy it." Rowan tightened the grip on his blade as he looked into the curate's bleary, half-conscious eyes. Even if he tried to stand his ground, Rowan couldn't deny the power of the undertow. "You're a monster," he shouted. "The worst kind. Because of you just don't kill. You turn others into killers like yourself. You just lack perspective. The predator is always a monster to the prey. To the gazelle, the lion is a demon. To a mouse, the eagle is an evil incarnate." He took a step closer. The curate still held tightly in his grip. "You will be the eagle or the mouse, Rowan. Will you soar or will you scurry away? For those are the only two choices today." Rowan's head was swimming. The smell of blood and the smoke pouring through the shattered windows made him dizzy and muddled with thoughts. The curate looked no different to the strangers he practiced on every day, and for a moment he felt himself on the lawn in the middle of a killcraft exercise. Rowan unsheathed his sword and stalked forward, feeling the hunger, living in the moment, just as Goddard had said, and allowed himself to feel the hunger as freeing as the way Rowan couldn't describe. For many months he had trained for this, and now he finally understood why Goddard always let the last one go before Rowan could strike, stopping him one blow short of completion. It was to prepare him for today. Today he would finally have a completion, and every day henceforth when he went out to glean, he would not stay his hand or his blade or his bullet until there was no one left to glean. Before he could think it through, before his mind could tell him to stop, he launched himself toward the curate, thrust his blade forward with all force, finally achieving the exquisite completion. The man gasped and stumbled aside, the blade having missed him completely. Instead, Rowan's blade hit its true mark and ran Scythe Goddard through the way to the hilt. Rowan was close to Goddard now, inches from his face, looking into his wide, shocked eyes. "I am what you made me," he told Goddard, "and you're right. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that more than anything I've ever done in my life. And with his free hand, Rowan reached down and yanked the ring off Goddard's finger. You don't deserve to wear this. You never did. Goddard opened his mouth to speak, perhaps to deliver an eloquent death soliloquy, but Rowan didn't want to hear anything from anyone anymore. So he stepped back, withdrew his sword from Goddard's gut, and swung it in a broad, sweeping arc that took Goddard's head in a single blow. It tumbled and landed in the basin of dirty water, as if there were a basin was there for. The rest of Goddard's body fell limply to the ground, and in the silence of the moment, Rowan heard from behind him, "What the hell did you do?" Rowan turned and saw Chomsky standing in the entrance of the chapel, with Rand beside him. "You are so glean when he's revived." Rowan let his draining take over. "I am the weapon," he told himself. In the moment, he was a lethal one. Chomsky and Rand defended themselves against him, and although they were good, they were nothing compared to the weapon so sharp and precise as he. Rowan's blade cut Rand deep, and she kicked the sword out of his hand with a well-placed Bokatar kick. Rowan responded with an even more effective kick that broke her spine. Chomsky set Rowan's arm ablaze with a flamethrower, but Rowan rolled on the ground, putting it out, then grabbed the toning mallet from beside the altar and brought it down on Chomsky like a hammer of Thor, striking again and again and again, as if he were atoning the hour, until the curate grabbed his hand to stop him and said, "That's enough, son. He's dead." Rowan dropped the mallet. Only now did he allow himself to let down his guard. "Come with me, son," the man said. "There's a place for you with us. We can hide you from the Scythedom." Rowan looked at the man's outstretched hand, but even now Goddard's words came back to him. The eagle or the mouse? No, Rowan wouldn't scurry away and hide. There was still more he had to be done. "Leave here," he told the man. "Find the survivors, if there are any. Get out, but do it quickly." The man looked at him in a moment more, then turned and left the chapel. Once he was gone, Rowan picked up the flamethrower and got down to business. Out in the street, fire trucks had already pulled up, and peace officers were holding back crowds. The entire cloister was now in a fire, and although firefighters raced toward the blaze, they were intercepted by a young man stepping out of the main gate. He was a Scythe action. "You will not intervene," he said. The fire captain who now approached him had heard of Scythe-related fires, but never had such a thing happen on his watch. There was something about this that he didn't seem right. Yes, the boy appeared to be wearing a Scythe's robe, a royal blue one, studded with diamonds, but the robe clearly didn't fit him. With flames consuming the compound at an alarming rate, that captain made a judgment call. This kid, whoever he was no Scythe. It was not about to hinder their efforts. "Out of the way," he told the kid dismissively. "Get back with the others and let us do our job." When the kid moved with a lightning speed, the captain felt his leg kicked out from under him. He landed on his back, and suddenly the kid was on top of him, a pea namefully pressing the captain's chest, and a hand around his throat, squeezing so tightly as it never closed his windpipe. Suddenly the boy didn't seem a boy at all. He didn't seem a whole lot bigger, a whole lot older. "I said this is Scythe action, and you will not intervene, or I will glean you right here, right now." The fire captain now knew he had made a grievous mistake. No one but a Scythe could be so commanding and take such absolute control of the situation. "Yes, Your Honor," the captain rasped. "I'm sorry, Your Honor." The Scythe stood, letting the captain get up, and let the squad fall back, and the squad, having seen the Scythe take their captain down so effectively, didn't question it. "You can protect other buildings that are threatened," this young Scythe said, "but you'll let this entire compound burn to the ground." "I understand, Your Honor." Then the Scythe held up his ring, and the captain kissed it. With such force, he cracked a tooth. Rowan felt the skin crawling beneath Scythe Goddard's blood-soaked robe. It was unpleasant as it was. He needed it to play the part. He was far more convincing than he thought he'd be, and frightened himself. The firefighters now directed all their attention to adjacent buildings, hosing them down nearby roofs with a fire retardant. Rowan found himself standing alone between the burning Tonus closure and the crowd still felt back by peace officers. He stayed until the steeple caved in and the giant fork at its apex plunged into flames, resounding with a mournful clang as it hit the ground. "I have become the monster of monsters," he thought as he watched it all burn, "the butcher of lions, the executioner of eagles." When trying not to trip over the robe, Rowan strode away from all the consuming inferno. He would leave nothing behind of Scythe Goddard and his disciples but the bone too charred to ever be revived. Part 5. Scythehood. Scythes Rand and Chomsky have these morbid conversations. They're twisted and the first to admit it, but I guess that's part of their charm. Today they were talking about the method they might use to self-glean one day. Noam said he would climb to the top of an active volcano surrounded by a grand ceremony, hurl himself into the lava. Anne said she would scuba dive the Great Barrier Reef until she either ran out of air or got eaten by a great white. They wanted me to join in their game and tell them how I want to go. Call me boring, but I don't want to play. Why talk about self-gleaning when it would be the furthest thing from our minds? It's our job to end other people's lives, not our own. And I intend to be doing it well into my thousands. From the Gleaning Journal of H.S. Volta. Chapter 37. Shaking the Tree. A tragedy! A terrible tragedy! High-Blade Xenocres sat on the plush sofa in the Grandoy's mansion that had, until just 2 days ago, had been accompanied by the late Scythe Goddard. Now he faced the apprentice, who seemed much too calm for a young man who had been through such an ordeal. Rest assured that the use of fire by any mid-American Scythe will be banned in conclave tomorrow, he said. That's definitely long overdue, Rowan told him, speaking not like an apprentice but more like an equal, which irritated the high-blade Xenocres. Took a good look at Rowan. You were very lucky to get out of there alive. Rowan looked at him square in the eye. I was stationed by the outer gate, he said. By the time I saw that the fire had gotten out of control, there was nothing I could do. Scythe Goddard and the others were trapped. That place was a maze. They never stood a chance. Then Rowan paused. He seemed to look deeply into Xenocrates, as Xenocrates was looking into him. All the other Scythes must see me in very bad luck. After all, I've gone through 2 Scythes in 1 year. I suppose this nullifies my apprenticeship? Nonsense, you've come this far, Xenocrates told him. Out of respect for Scythe Goddard, you will take your final test tonight. I can't speak for the bejeweling committee, but I have no doubt that, taking into consideration what you've been through, they'll find you in your favor. And Citra, if you retrieve the ring, I'll trust you'll glean Miss Terra Nova, and thus put an end to the unpleasant chapter of our history. A servant arrived with champagne and finger sandwiches. Xenocrates looked around the mansion, which had been so full of servants in days past, now seemed to have only this one. The others must have fled the moment they heard Scythe Goddard and his associates had succumbed to fire. Apparently Xenocrates wasn't the only one who felt freed by Goddard's ultimate untimely end. Why are you still here when the others have all left? He asked the servant. It certainly couldn't be out of loyalty. It was Rowan who answered him. Actually, this estate belongs to him. Yes, said the man, but I'll be putting it up for sale. My family and I couldn't imagine living here anymore. He put a champagne flute into Xenocrates' hands, but I'm always happy to serve a high blade. Apparently the man had gone from servant to sycophant. Not a very far leap. Once he had left the room, Xenocrates got down to the real reason he had come, to shake the tree and see what, if anything, would fall out. He leaned a little closer to Rowan. There are rumors that a Scythe, or at least someone who looked like a Scythe, came out to address the firefighters. Rowan didn't even blink. I heard that too. There are even some phone videos that people uploaded, very blurry from all the smoke. I can't see much of anything. Yes, it just adds to the general confusion, I suppose. Will there be much more, Your Excellency? Because I'm pretty exhausted, and I'm going to face my final test tonight. I need to rest up for it. You do know that not everyone in Scythedom is convinced that it was just an accident. We've had to begin an investigation just to be sure. Makes sense, said Rowan. So far, we've been able to identify Scythe Volta and Scythe Chomsky by their rings, and the gems in the robes, which are around their remains. Rubies for Chomsky, citrines for Volta. As for Scythe Ram, we are fairly certain she's in the debris beneath the huge tuning fork that had fallen through the chapel roof. Makes sense, Rowan said again. But finding Scythe Goddard has proven to be a challenge. Of course, there are so many tonus gleaned in the chapel before the fire got out of control, it's quite an ordeal trying to come up with a positive identification. One would assume that, like the others, Scythe Goddard's remain would be around by small diamonds, and the larger jewel in the Scythe's ring, even if the setting melted. Makes sense, Rowan said for the 3rd time. That doesn't make sense, as that the skeleton we think is his doesn't have any of those things, said Xenocrates, and it also has no skull. That's weird, said Rowan. Well, I'm sure it must be there somewhere, one would think. Maybe they need to look a little harder. Just then, Xenocrates noticed the girl standing in the threshold of the room, lingering there, not sure whether the enter or walk away. Xenocrates couldn't be sure how much he had heard, or even if it mattered. Esme, said Rowan, come in. You remember His Excellency, High-Blade Xenocrates, don't you? Yeah, she said. Jump. And the pool. It was funny. Xenocrates shifted uncomfortably at the mention of the ordeal. It was something he cared to remember. I've made arrangements for Esme to return to her mother, Rowan said, and maybe you would like to take her there yourself. Me? Said Xenocrates, finding indifference. Why would I want to? Because you care a lot about people, Rowan said with a well-timed wink. Some more than others. As the High Blade regarded his daughter, that he would never publicly or even privately acknowledge, he melted it just the tiniest bit. The boy had planned this, hadn't he? This Rowan Damish was a sly one, an admirable trait even properly directed. Perhaps Rowan warranted more attention than the High Blade had given him in the past. Esme wanted to see what would happen, and Xenocrates finally offered him a warm smile. It would be my pleasure to take you home, Esme. With that, Xenocrates rose to leave, and he couldn't go just yet. There was still one more thing he had to do, one more decision that was his power to make. He turned back to Rowan. Perhaps I should use my influence to call off the investigation, he said. Out of respect for our fallen comrades, let their memory be untainted by clumsy forensics that might cast aspersions on their legacy. Let the dead be dead, agreed Rowan. And so the unspoken agreement was reached. The High Blade would cease taking the tree, and Rowan would keep the High Blade's secret safe. If you need a place to stay once you're leaving here, Rowan, please know that my door is always open to you. Thank you, Your Excellency. No, thank you, Rowan. Then the High Blade took Esme's hand and left to return her home. The power of life and death cannot be handed out blithely, but only in stoic and weighty reserve. Ascension to Scythehood should by no means be easy. We who have established a Scythedom have faced down our own struggles in the process. We have ensured that all those who join us in our mission face a trial that not only instructive but transformative. Scythehood is humanity's highest calling, and to achieve it would cut one's soul at the very core, so that no Scythe will ever forget the cost of the ring they bear. Of course, they chose on the outside of our rite of passage might seem unthinkably cruel, which is why it must be forever remain a secret sacrament. From the Gleaning Journal of H.S. Prometheus and the First World Supreme Blade. What a nice story. A crazy one, but a nice one. Anywho, what's also nice is that today we read pages 338 to 405. And I apologize, I didn't know it switched parts in the middle of it. So, that's going to be the reason why that got switched around without any secondary choice. Next time we will be reading pages 406 to 425, so 19 pages. And chapter 38 and chapter 39. It's been a good book. It's been a good run. We have this next episode, and then the episode after that, and then it's all good. Chapter 40 will be the last chapter, officially. And yeah. Anywho, it's time for... Reading Corner of the Day. Doing it up Stonsey's way, Pop. And I should be drinking something a little stronger. Maybe a mug root beer instead of a water. Because today we are reading about the Irish Terrier. Look at him. He's so cute. I love Irish Terriers. They're such strange looking dogs. They're adorable, but they're strange. They're definitely strange. Alright. But what's the history? Are they really Irish? Well, the Irish Terrier is a quintessential long-legged terrier. The Irish Terrier is also one of the oldest terrier breeds. Its creation is not documented, but may have descended from the old black and tan terrier and the larger but racier solid wheaten-coloured terrier. Both of which were found in Ireland and used for hunting fox, otter, and vermin. Its similarity to the Irish Wolfhound was led to conjecture that may have descended at least in part from the breed. The Irish Terrier is the raciest member of the terrier group, with its longer body and longer legs than the other terriers. Early Irish Terriers came in a variety of colors, including black, tan, and gray, and brindle. Only near the end of the 19th century did the solid red color become the fixture of the breed. The first Irish Terrier was shown in 1875, and by the 1880s, the breed was fourth most popular in England. At the time, it was fashionable with the crop of the ears of the many terriers, but in 1889, the Irish Terrier Club of England banned ear cropping in the breed. The ruling was to have far-reaching implications for all dogs because it instigated the debate about ear cropping and eventually led to abolition? I don't know why I can read that. Abolition of cropped ears in all breeds shown in England. The breed also became quite popular in America, ranking 13th of all breeds in the late 1920s. It was dominant force in the show rings of the day. In World War I, the breed proved its mettle by serving as a messenger and a sentinel. With such an auspicious beginning, the Irish Terrier seemed certain to remain one of the most popular terriers, but it didn't. Today, the Irish is one of the rare terriers, an uncommon sight in either show ring or home. So it's a racier terrier? I immediately thought bad things when I said that out loud, but then I realized it means fast, or it likes to go on races? Not, racist, I guess? I don't know, it's weird. But what's the temperament? How do I keep this Irish Terrier in check? Well, it's called the daredevil of dogdom. The Irish Terrier is brash, bold, assertive, playful, inquisitive, independent, strong-willed, and ever ready for action and adventure. Usually aggressive towards other dogs and small animals, and tends to be reserved with strangers. It likes to chase and run and hunt and explore. It needs daily physical and mental exercise in a safe area. Given sufficient exercise, it is surprisingly well-mannered and dignified indoors, as well loyal and entertaining companion. But what's the upkeep? How do I keep my Irish Terrier in check? Well, the upkeep of the Irish Terrier is that this is a dog with an active mind and body, needs daily entertainment and exercise, makes a good walking and jogging companion, as well as hiking or hunting partner. It can also be met with a rigorous play session. Its wire coat needs combing 1 or 2 times weekly, plus scissoring and shaping, clipping for pets or the stripping for show dogs, 2 to 4 times yearly. Clipping softens the coat and dulls the color. Some training of the ears is necessary to ensure proper adult shape. Now for the worst part, the health. Which, actually, I think this is the healthiest dog we've ever had. No, seriously, because their major concerns are nothing. Their minor concerns are urinary stones. They're occasionally seen with nothing. You shouldn't have specific tests when you take them to the doctor. Literally says nothing. And their lifespan is 12 to 15 years, which is not bad for a terrier. Well, if you want a good medical dog, the Irish Terrier is for you. But what's the form? What's the function? What does they look like without these little pictures in front of me? Well, the Irish Terrier... The Irish Terrier is a graceful, racy outline with a moderately long body. It should not have been short back, characteristic of so many of the long-legged terriers. It's sturdy and strong substance, but... Really? Okay. Strong in substance, but also active and live in movement. It an all-rounded terrier that must combine speed, endurance, agility, and power to perform a great variety of jobs. Its broken coat is dense and wiry, never so long as to obscure the body shape. Its expression, like its nature, is intense. Now, for the tier list of today's episode. 5 is the best, 4 is better, 3 is average, 2 is worse, and 1 is the worst, unless it comes to grooming. Which, we don't win that battle today. Energy and exercise requirements are at a 3, pretty average. Playfulness is at an all-time 5. Affection levels at a 2. I guess he doesn't like love. Friendliness towards dogs and other pets is at a 1. Friendliness towards strangers is at a 2, so this dog isn't very friendly. Ease of training's at a 1, which is good, and I guess it makes up for it in its watchdog ability being at a 5. Protection ability's at a 4. Grooming requirements is sadly also at a 4. Cold and heat tolerance at a 3. They're pretty average. The healthy weight of a male Irish Terrier should be ideally 27 pounds. Female should be ideally 25 pounds. And the height for both male and female is 18 inches, because if it was feet, we'd be living in a world of giants. Well, I guess we're talking about the same dog next time, except it doesn't know how to cut its mustache off. The next breed of dog we'll be talking about is the one you'll be learning about in the next episode. So I hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite, be efficient, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.